post your introduction, do let us know what is that one thing that has always, irrespective of time, place, given you 100% ROI. We have with us Ms. Bindya Bhatt, the Director Category Management, Myntra. Ms. Bindya, stage is all yours. Unfortunately, you're the very first. The remaining leaders have a little bit of time, but you being the fantastic leader that you are, and you are, leading on front. So, Ms. Vidya, what is that one thing which gives you 100% ROI?
You mean like anything?
Anything. It could be Rajma Chawal.
I mean, on that point, yeah, a weekend with Rajma Chawal definitely gives me 100% ROI. My maid knows that she has to make it, and that the day she doesn't make it, she knows she's gonna get it. So yeah, that definitely, you've hit the nail.
Well, it is. Wow, we are totally like resonating on this point. Fantastic answer, Ms. Vidya. Next leader, we have Mr. Vaibhav Ambradkar, the lead customer experience IDFC First Bank. Mr. Vaibhav?
Yeah, hi Nikita, hi everyone. I think a good game of, I think a good workout and the post-workout, high is, I think, the one thing which I really think is 100% ROI. I think because you tend to not to go for the workout, you tend not to wake up, but once the workout is done or once the game is done, you really enjoy that. Yes, I shouldn't have thought of not going there. Yeah.
Wow, from Rajma Chawal to exercising. Good. That's a good rising.
I'm like north south.
Mr. Somnath, our next leader is Mr. Somnath Chatterjee, the Director of Digital Loyalty and Customer Experience, Accor. Mr. Somnath, you have to continue the trend from Rajma Chawal to exercising to?
Well, wouldn't say exercising, but I would say a round of golf. It's a very cruel game sometimes, but then the ROI is always there because you catch up with your buddies, friends. Even if you have a good game, you still enjoy the post game. Even if you don't have, you still enjoy it. So I think it's 100% ROI, and it's a big stress buster.
Wow, and a very poshy game indeed. I don't even think I've stepped foot on a golf, a golf course, as we say. Fantastic answer, Mr. Chatterjee. And of course, our moderator, Mr. Hari Shankar, the SVP, Customer Experience, Future Generali Life Insurance. Mr. Hari, we have to end it with time.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, for me, essentially, it's a prayer, a deep cherished wish, and a prayer to connect to everyone, prayer to connect to the environment, prayer to bring out the best in me and the best in everyone. So every time I pray, I feel I'm the better version of me. So that's one thing which will always be my strength and my background.
Mr. Hari, I am getting emotional just hearing that. What a fantastic answer. Leaders, you were absolutely amazing. Mr. Hari, and of course, our amazing leaders, stage is all yours.
Thank you, Nikita, for the great introductions and the warm-up. Welcome on board, Bindya, Som, and Vaibhav.
Hi.
Hi. Let us together spark conversation. Let's spark fires. Let's really engage in a camaraderie, free wheeling banter as we talk today on the ROI of customer experience. So Nikita was kind enough to do some light-hearted introduction. On that note, I propose that maybe we go around the table and just tell about us in the terms of CX, my passion, CX or otherwise. For example, I am Hari Shankar, and I get all excited when I'm with colleagues or partners or any human beings talking of CX habits, CX behaviors, and culture. And when I'm not doing that, that is, I'm not talking or working CX, you may perhaps find me writing a poem, a song, a story, or maybe humming to myself about that one tune or one poem that I may be wanting to make. So that's a quick peek into me, and maybe then I pass the pillow to Bindya. And Bindya, would you like to introduce similarly on CX or otherwise?
Hi. Thanks, Hari. That's great to know. I'm Vindhya. Most part of my work involves selling fashion to women consumers, and most of the time while I'm engaged at doing this, there is always this constant pressure of delivering on numbers, delivering on bottom line, but at the same time I'm always very super passionate about how we're going to deliver the right consumer experience, right? Because it's not a, none of us are in this for short term, right? Everything is for long term, and I believe that nobody is even doing 100% of what they should do, but the intent is, if you're at a certain level, how do you keep improving from there and keep pushing yourself to the next level? So that's what my constant endeavor is, and that's what I pretty much do the whole time.
Thanks, Binya. That is fabulous, really. And we come to our friend Som. Som, an introduction on CX or otherwise about yourself.
Yes. First of all, thank you, Exito, for giving us an opportunity to speak at this esteemed panel, and thanks, Hari, and all my colleagues to for this session. I think yes, like any passionate CX leader, and I've been associated with hospitality industry for 16 years. I find it very difficult to alienate hospitality and customer experience, because that's the very very foundation of this industry. However, it takes a lot of effort, combined effort and team effort to sort of develop that culture. I think today with limited resources, and I guess in the last 2 years it has been further accentuated with COVID. I think to keep that morale high and have that passion to still serve our customers, I think that's a challenge that I work and keeps me awake at night. On a personal level, I guess I mentioned golf, but also singing and occasional cooking, I think, just helps me to de-stress.
Wow, that must be keeping your family members happy, because when you are on the golf course, perhaps
at least my wife is happy because I'm not there to bug her at home, right?
And when you are in the kitchen again, she is happy. So
yeah.
She's getting the best of both worlds.
Great ROI, you see.
Yes. So we come to Vaibhav for a quick introduction on CX matters and otherwise.
Yeah, thanks, Hari. Hi, everyone. I think just a quick introduction. I have multi-category exposure. Worked in conglomerates, Mahindra and Mahindra, and Aditya Birla. So fortunately, I worked across categories like automotive, construction, retail. Worked on Pantaloons, Louis Philippe on the brand manager capacity. So been a kind of a cross-industry exposure, and now working in a bank, right? Just kind of because I truly believe CX is industry agnostic. I think one thing which I really look in and learning from my all industry is what is that how you really make your customer fall in love with the brand, right? And I'm a great believer of the Mr. Kevin Roberts. Kevin Roberts, he said in his book Love Marks, how you not create a brand, but then that emotional connect, that that love mark where the customer has loyalty beyond reason. And so that is the pursuit for me, how to get that aha moment of the consumer insight, finding that right insight which will really propel the entire CX function. So that what keeps me active, and I would never work in another function which has no customer exposure. Offline, when I'm not engaged in CX, I think I'm a sports enthusiast. So playing a good game of tennis or any racket-based sport is what keeps me active. And I read about it. I'm psyched about lot of celebrities around it. Yeah, so these are two of my passions, and work and offline. Thanks, Hari.
Thanks, Vaibhav. I'm sure that those on the same ship while listening to us are now even more excited to hear about the ROI of customer experience.
Yes.
So what an versatile Vaibhav introducing falling in love with brand, the emotional connect, the golfer, the chef, Som, like CX is something we all do it, not one person does it. And then Vindhya, we continue to strive. That really sets a great background. And I feel this is the time, like after the audience had maybe 2 to 3 sessions already, And while we come to our longish, the subjective kind of questions, before that, maybe another rapid fire round would be not out of order. And what I propose to do is, again, I'll go round to each of you and put up a phrase or a word, and I'd request you to answer in just a few words, or maximum a sentence. So there would be rapid fire of 3 to 4 questions to each of you, and then we'll come to our subjective section. So Bindya, are you all ready? And then I am ready to fire.
Yes, please shoot.
So that's kind. So first one goes to you. Best experience.
American Express.
Fabulous. And worst experience.
Air India.
Okay,
I'm sure everyone will have a sob story around that.
Hope the next one, traveling Air India, is listening to it, or Air India themselves. So CX leader.
Apple.
Hands down, I'm sure everyone would agree to that, and many others. So finally, since you're from Mindtra, CX mantra, what it?
I think largely around be proactive and not reactive. You have to be constantly on top of it and not be a follower. You have to be a leader in this. Not just, I would say not be like, which I also mentioned in my introduction, not just in terms of being a market leader, gaining market share, but also from consumer perspective, consumer experience perspective, not be reactive, be proactive.
Great, great. So here I come to our friend Som. And Som, you're all set, Som?
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing I'd like you to fill in the blank. From EX to CX, there is a blank in between.
I think it's empathy and sensitivity. I think that's very important.
Wonderful. I think it works both ways, empathy and sensitivity to the employee, and then only they'll.
Yes, it's a two-way street.
Wonderful. So CX matters, or is CX a fad?
I think CX matters because that's the reason why we exist. All businesses exist because of customers. So it definitely is, the nucleus to every business.
Thank you. And that was what you earned with CX.
Reputation, loyalty, market share, and of course, I think customer love or advocacy.
Wow, I'll take all the love, and then of course the money will come. So last, your CX mantra or tip to each of us.
I think it's a daily job, so don't start your day without it.
Wow, wow, fabulous. Thank you so much, Som. And here I come to Vaibhav.
Do I get a hamper?
I'll be sending hampers to all of you. Just send me your addresses and I'll do that. I enjoy sending hampers, really. So over to Vaibhav, and Vaibhav, I hope. So to you, something different, CX culture.
I think CX culture, I think, is not underrated, but it's not been, it's the entire DNA of the organization. I just add one more line. I always tell this to my teams and people around me, right? If someone comes from Microsoft or comes from a Google, you can clearly distinguish between these two people, right? That's how they embody the entire DNA of the organization, right? I think if an organization is, and all successful organizations have done that, that is the true CX culture. If you are really able to imbibe that and you're able to distinguish between people and makes it a distinguished asset, it's great. Yeah. So that's CX culture for me, what Google and say Microsoft when it comes to pitch a product to me. Yeah.
Wow. 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 They must be feeling good, each employee from the organization. And then CX and the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer.
I think he's the biggest brand ambassador. I think he's the biggest promoter. I think he is the voice of the organization, and he can actually clearly tell the intent, what he is trying to do for the customers, and how they are on the higher pedestal. So I think he's the voice, and he can actually make them, tell them it and become the brand ambassador of the brand and be active. I think I love someone like Anand Mahindra who does it, right? He doesn't work, he just be the brand ambassador. Great work.
Yeah, both start with a C, so CX and the CEO.
Yeah.
And then, since you're from the bank, would you like to tell, this is how you laughed all the way to the bank? Very short.
Yeah, we are actually a scale-up bank, and we are initial phase. But then I think we have a brand promise of always you first. I think demonstrating that promise in different journey touch points of customers has helped us in a couple of quarters to actually, walk our bank to our bank itself. Yeah.
Thanks. And finally, the CX mantra or tip you'd want everyone to take.
I think it's again, I feel here it's again more intrinsic. People look, we create a lot of stuff, but it's more internal for the brand to become a CX successful story. And so because we are not standing in a straight line, right? Where there's a front line, there's a support. We are all in a horizontal line. So how the organization is able to understand this, work cross-functionally, and stand in a horizontal line for the customer, not in a vertical line, is I think the mantra for any organization which I worked in. 4 to 5 organizations I worked.
Great. Thank you so much. A round of applause to each of you, Vaibhav, Vindhya, and Som. And now coming to more detailed questions. And before I go again on the round one of discussion to each one of you and put some detailed questions where perhaps you'll share some more examples from your respective industry and from your organizations or anything which touched your heart on the topic of the return on investment of CX transformation. That is what Exito has given us the topic. I have been mulling over it since yesterday we all caught up. And one thing to look at it, I felt is that is it only about like stopping losses or about increasing revenue or finding a linkage, that mathematical formula, or is there something much more deeper? Is it not the very purpose of being, the purpose of an organization, the way to survive, thrive, and succeed? So that's what I had been mulling since yesterday. And then I'd be keen to hear, of course, each of your thoughts and learn, and then maybe summarize. So we'll again start with the lady in the house, Bindhya. And to Bindhya, before we venture on this journey, I would request you to, first of all, define what CX is actually in general and what it means to you in your apparel industry or at Mindtra.
Hey, hi. Yeah, thanks, Hari. So CX, I mean, very simply put, is the consumer perception that is formed after they interact with the platform, after they come to your platforms and they interact with the platform's goods and services. So it's largely that it's more qualitative, right? It's an experience, which is why we call it customer experience. And then, of course, there is a lot of metrics that you attach to it to see if it is moving in the right direction. The goal is to keep optimizing and orchestrating this so that we're able to orchestrate these experiences so that we're able to guide the consumer to their entire purchase journey and be able to optimize at every level, because we have massive amount of data at a platform level, right? And we can do those kind of interventions. Now, when I come specifically to what is happening in Myntra or what is happening in fashion e-commerce, there are a lot of things that are happening because 85% plus consumers are coming through mobile. I don't know how many of you are aware that Myntra went mobile 5-6 years back. We went all mobile, right? There was no desktop at all that time. And that time people thought it was very eccentric as an idea. But looking back, the intent was to really pivot all our energies in mobile so that we're able to really improve the experience of the consumer who's coming to the mobile. And today, like I said, 85% plus consumers are coming through mobile. So it is very, very pivotal for us to ensure that that experience is right. Other than that, of course, unlike an offline setup, right, where you have a lot of there is no rack space constraint, like we call it. You can have like 10 lakh or 50 lakh SKUs also present in online, right? While it's a good thing, but it's also a challenge, right? How do you ensure that somebody who's coming from Chennai and wants to, for instance, buy a silk sari versus somebody who's coming from a metro 15-year-old consumer wants to buy very fashion forward products, right? These are very different need states. And if I'm going to keep showing, because my real estate is still one, right? If I'm going to keep showing the same thing to the consumers, somewhere the consumer will bounce off, right? So personalization is very, very critical. And this is one investment as an org that we keep doing. We have, and like I said, we have to keep optimizing here. We have to keep orchestrating, because personalization is also very tricky because you don't have all the data required to be able to personalize it to that extent. So you keep doing those nudges in the system to be able to move in that direction. Then, of course, coming to the omni-channel part, right? Omni-channel, I'm sure is another one very important experience lever that you have to build so as to be able to enable offline and online, right? In my mind, offline and online is not even a competition. It's like, how do you build both of them together for a seamless consumer experience, that a consumer who's probably buying Levi's in an offline store comes to Myntra and thinks it is absolutely the same, right? That means we'll have to surface everything that happens in offline, online, right? Some of these things, and I will also touch upon what are the experiences that we are trying to bring in a virtual environment to be able to compensate for that offline touch and feel. Of course, it's never going to be 100% that, but how much can you really pivot in that direction to be able to garner and bring that kind of experience, right? So that's also very, very important, right? And I will, like for instance, there are virtual trial rooms that we have at Myntra, right? You can just, like, if I want to shop, I can go there, click my picture, and I will see, like, how that product is looking on me. That's like virtual trial room. Then there is shop and click. For instance, I liked somebody wearing something, I can just click their picture. It's almost like search, and it's almost like you click the picture and you can actually search through that. That's an amazing product where you can actually see similar products being reflected on the website. Then you have experiences like try and buy. For instance, there are a lot of people, right, which are in tier 2, tier 3 cities, who are still not comfortable with shopping online, right? To be able to bring them online, to be able to tell them that it's okay, if you don't like the product, you can just return it right away. There is no problem. So there is a try and buy construct that we enable, right, where you can actually deliver the product at the doorstep. Customers try it, they return it if they don't like it. Then there is video commerce, right? That is another enablement that we're doing, right? Where we're saying that as the consumer shopping is going to evolve, and this is one very big experience that is going to come through, where every shopping is pretty much going to get pivoted through influencers in the fashion space, through video commerce. And how do we basically bring it together? So for that, we've launched MLive, right, which is like a Myntra studio kind of a concept. So all of these interventions are of course happening to be able to bring the offline and online consumer as close experience as close as possible, while of course online will have few things that we will have to keep improving, right? For instance, am I making refunds very easy? Am I really working on my returns, right? The post-purchase journey has to be very seamless, right? Are returns seamless? Are refunds seamless? Is the speed and ease of delivery being taken care of? Again, looking at the different consumer segments, what we also realize that younger consumers are more price sensitive, not as much speed sensitive, versus the older consumers, they are more speed sensitive, not as much price sensitive. So we have to garner and we have to be able to cater to the needs of everyone, right? Again, right, seamless checkout options, wallet options, right? So everything has to, in an online setup, has to come together, right? And search being a very, very integral part, right? Because we see that 50% plus traffic is flowing organically. That means people in a way know what they want to shop, right? I want to buy a striped collar t-shirt and I know that that's what I want to buy, right? And you will just come and search for it. Is my search experience enabled well, right? So there are a lot of things in CX that we're continuously trying to evolve, we're continuously trying to build to be able to offer the kind of experience, because unlike offline, we don't have an offline touch point, right? Everything that we do is a digital customer experience that we have to keep improvising and keep building on it. So that's what that's our constant endeavor, and that's what we're constantly building on.
Thanks Bindya, and that's a lot, no doubt. Making the virtual world so real, that's what I understand. Your CX is how closer you can get to the customer while in that digital mode, and really make them feel that those are the goods and apparels they want to take. So here we switch tracks from apparels onto the home away from home. That is what Accor offers, and I'm sure, like what Som said, certainly experiences count. So Som, do you believe CX impacts revenue growth? And would you like to share a few examples or cases from the hospitality sector of how it has impacted the revenue growth, either at Accor or otherwise?
Sure, thank you. Yes, of course. As in, it's definitely a no-brainer that customer experience, which is the the fundamentals of this industry, because that's where our guests come in and experience. And I was very intrigued to hear what Myntra is doing, because ours is a very high-touch organization, or a domain where people actually interact with our employees, our associates, and experience that, and that's the moment of truth. And the biggest challenge that we have is that while we can make strategies in the boardroom, the lowest common denominator, which is our maybe a bellboy, maybe a doorman, maybe a server at the restaurant, a housekeeping room boy, they are actually the moment of truth and the last mile connectivity between our customers and our brands. So it's very, very important, and that's where the challenge is in the service industry, that whatever you do at the at the top needs to seamlessly flow to the last mile. Having said that, yes, definitely it impacts revenue. We look at all kinds of correlations. We look at for a hotel, how does improvement in net promoter score or CSAT scores. To give you an example, a 3-point improvement in a CSAT score actually has an impact of 1.7 or 2 points on the revenue penetration or the market share of that hotel within its ComSet. Of course, these are data points across array of hotels across brands. We also look at real-time feedback. As you stay with us, you automatically get a pop-up in terms of emojis. You can also a lot of customers, while experiencing the brand, even at a restaurant, having a meal, or at the hotel during a stay in the room, or even in meeting spaces or banquets, they send today messages on our social media channels tagging the hotels. We've seen that if you are able to respond real time within 30 minutes, within an hour, customer advocacy grows by almost 5x times. And we today have those social listening tools around our hotels in the arsenal to sort of really catch that at that real time basis. I think another important lever that we look at, and then this is where the digital thing comes in, the digital booking experience, is that today reviews, positive customer reviews actually have an impact of almost 18 to 20% on booking conversions. I'm sure all of you book your hotels online, whether it's on online travel agent platforms like Booking.com, Make My Trip, or on our websites, brand websites. You definitely go through at least 2 to 3 reviews just to scan through, even if you're not reading it in detail. You get influenced by positive reviews, or even if something looks completely fabricated, you want to actually see some negative reviews to see there is some validation, right? So definitely these have an impact. Even Google search rankings, they have a weightage of almost 10% on customer reviews. All these indicating about an impact on revenue. But what I see is that there is seldom discussion on cost of poor quality, which is actually a manufacturing term, but we look at it because while it may not enhance revenue, it actually limits leakage, right? So if a customer is unhappy because of XYZ experience, that's also lost revenue for us, because we are compensating him or her with something that could have been prevented. So we at least try to study cost of poor quality, and then that's where I guess it also has a reverse effect on revenue. So these are some of the aspects. It's a laundry list, and we can sing till the cows come home, but definitely these are some of the lead indicators that we look at. And I guess one of the other things that we also have an impact is also our employee morale. When we have actually we've done some broad level correlations on customer satisfaction to employee satisfaction as well. Hotels which actually have higher reputation scores, in a way, and I'm not saying 100% attribution, but in a way, their employees are also either recognized, rewarded, they're doing more revenue and then as a matter of fact, then they are also equally motivated or probably more satisfied. So definitely it has an impact on revenue through these attributes.
Great. You really helped us to understand where to stop the losses and where to grow the revenue by using customer experience as not only the tool, but the intrinsic way of doing business. Thank you, Somnath. Grateful for that. And here I come to Vaibhav. So Vaibhav, you are the banker, and no doubt customers always bank upon you. You are so trusted. So what kind of correlation you have seen between CX transformation and revenue growth at the bank?
Yeah, I think okay. I'm very new to bank, and in fact, I've been pushed in my company to not to be as a banker. So I think bank typically has a are most sticky as a brand because the time, effort, the complexity of the product, and thanks to regulation of RBI, customers are more stickier than it's not easy to switch. Now, what happens? And I think only few categories have this stickiness. Something like telecom, which also now has them. However, the advent of fintechs, which has happened, which are now 2,000 fintechs now, which in the market who are actually eroding a lot of banks, fund transfer, and a lot of payment options. The data point which a bank or a telecom will get is immense, right? So I think the correlation between CX and the top line or the revenue is quite simpler, for at least for the banks or telecom industry, because I work closely on Idea. So number of referrals or metric like upsell or cross sell, right? How many product per customer? Is the customer having an insurance product, or he's having he's taking a loan from me while having a savings account with me, or having am I able to increase the monthly revenue balance for him? So I think the data points are so easy for bank or someone or a data player like telecom. It's easy to build that correlation. I think the difficult part is what is driving those numbers, right? So which a CX team should know what are the actual drivers of customer experience. Now, what I mean by drivers of customer experience, let's take an example. A Black Swan event like COVID had actually toppled what are the conformance standard for a particular brand. People used to evaluate a brand basis, say XYZ, this is a good brand basis, these are the features. The same goes for a toss, or it's not valid really, because now you're working from home, the entire parameters are changing. Now, during this shift, when the customers are evaluating a brand, not basis the traditional pre-COVID scenario, they're evaluating a brand basis some new parameters. If you're not driving it, the category and the brand is not actually driving the revised parameters, the customer will start creating their own conformance standard. And soon your product will become a commodity, like a salt, right? The customers have the variables are in the hands of customer. Now, during these scenarios, it's imperative for the brands to know what is actually driving these numbers, what is driving your referrals, what is driving your product per customer. And it might not be the same reason which was pre-COVID, right? So earlier it was a convenience, right? The store is convenient to me because I can walk down to the bank and I can put the money into the bank, right? Now that conformance standard on that parameter is no more valid. How you quickly are able to work on the app is important, right? So while the matrix correlation of revenue is simple, what is driving that is an imperative for the business and the CX leaders to actually see how it can be, how they are more tangible, how they are more linked. So I think a brand guide study and frequent deep study within the customer base is more important to do that. Yeah. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav, for sharing those thoughts. And I'm sure, be it the bank, be it the hotel, the hospital, or the apparel, or anywhere, CX matters, and it matters. That is how the revenue counts. Yeah. At insurance, I come from the insurance sector.
Sure.
It is actually a stop loss arrangement or a way to take care of an unexpected financial setback, and that is what the customer is expecting us to make good. So from the industry that I am in the general insurance sector, it's actually an annual subscription, and one of the key component of that is what kind of experience he had, or the lack of experience. I'm not talking even about bad experience, but maybe throughout the year, if he did not get in touch with the brand at all, then whether he feels excited enough to renew the annual subscription or not. And we surely see the customers that whom we have been in touch with. I'm not even talking about first good experience or bad experience. just had an experience are more likely to renew than those who could not get any contact. You may be wondering why in the first place no contact, because that's a problem of the industry to not have the customer contact. And then, of course, those who had the wow experience, those whose claim were settled, those who got explained about how the claim was calculated, they are sure then to renew. And the differential is huge, we see, between those who have been in touch and those who haven't. So I'm told we have exactly 6 to 7 minutes more, but that's a lot of time if we can make a lot of that and go once around the panel again. And I'd request everyone to, in the interest of time is the money here, to keep their comments to maybe a brief 90 seconds, so that we can summarize and wrap up at the given time of 4:35. And I'll come to Bindya first. So in 90 seconds or a minute and a half, I would request you to pitch a CX related investment to the CEO, or how, what would be the kind of tips you would like to offer to all of us about how to pitch the CX cost to the CEO.
I mean, it's always about, don't speak about the cost. Speak about what is the saving that you're going to have in the long term. And this is how usually we're able to get to anything that we have to get to, whether you have to touch upon the savings in the long term, the retention, consumer retention, because that is one of the largest pieces in the overall consumer journey that we have to ensure that we are able to save on the platform. So how is it going to help you ensure that your CLTV and customer retention is in place? Anything, right? I mean, even if you have to go for a try and buy, right, where the logistic costs are almost doubling than what our current costs are. But if you're able to substantiate that by saying that this is going to help me get additional consumers, this is going to help me improve the net promoter score, and it is going to help me improve the overall retention of the consumer, just put the entire maths together. And it's not a short-term thing. It's like in a 6-month span, month on month, how is my cost saving and overall benefit looking up? And once you show this to him, you're able to get many of these things through. So I would say don't focus on cost, focus on the savings.
Oh, smart tip, really. I'll take that, and I'll make my presentations accordingly as you have guided. And here we come to to Vaibhav. And,
make sure I catch your eye. If you do,
hello?
I have to catch your eye.
Yeah, you can hear. So to I would say, what metrics are you typically using to prove the ROI of customer experience? What is your advice to us on such metrics that we could use to prove the case for ROI on CX, so that all who are on this call can take on those metrics?
I think for every business, I think it's initially you begin with investment, because the CEO of the business and the entire top brass is there. So you invest, you build a technology stack, you put the right people, you build a CX team, you have the right capability, you bring Dale Carnegie, Disney to train them, upskill them. Now the penny drops when you have to prove it, right? I think the investment part is not an issue. I think most businesses want to become customer centric, but are they really able to succeed on that is the issue. So we have created something unique called as a customer experience index. Now all the P&L leaders, I think what makes sense is all the P&L leaders who actually contribute to the top line or the bottom line for the business have to identify 4 to 5 key metrics from the CX lens. So it can be as simple as incidence ratio. Incidence ratio is number of customers who are calling to a call center. So if I'm the credit card head, and 1,000 customers are calling right now, how I can digitally migrate them, how I can create straight-through process, so that instead of 1,000 calls, my incidence ratio goes to say 5%, which is 500 calls. So how much is the savings in that digital migration? So that is the cost, which is, and now let the P&L leader himself or herself choose these 4-5 parameters, and you put the weighted average to it. Now the CXI index or customer experience index, or whatever you want to fancy name you want to call it, how you move month on month, that is the proof of the pudding for the entire management to show, right, for this business. So if Bindya is managing this category and Som is managing, say, a category of hotels which are in particular zone, he would tell that he is able to benefit, say, 2 crores basis the CXI index, and she will able to tell basis my category is able to reap benefit so much. That's how cumulatively you're able to do a bottom-up, benefit analysis. So you have benefits and you have cost, but you need to spread it across the P&L leaders. That's my sense.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav. That was really insightful. The CXI, you added the I, that I have to get that return on that CX.
Yeah.
So I'll come back to Somnath as the last input. And I'm assuming that you have already got your return on investment. And so I ask you that, how do you channel it, and what kind of digital transformation and AI initiatives are giving a fillip to CX in your sector, making the customer to come to you again and again?
Yeah. For a digitally non-native sector like hotels, I think the challenge has always been there. Accor actually has been in the forefront of digital transformation in the last 5 to 6 years. And what we have actually built, and I heard Bindya mentioning about personalization at great detail, and I think that's the very core of it. What we've been doing is that through customer data, that we have been receiving while they have been staying at our hotels, experiencing our brands, restaurant, all your preferences, right? We have been building this bot, which in a couple of years, will be able to, I think, start recommending, suggest food patterns, hotels, your stays, your loyalty points usage. And what we want to do is that, in the journey, is that to be embedded in, embed our brand into voice search. So, maybe in a couple of years' time, when my Alexa or Echo is, listening to me in my house, probably on a Friday evening, it tells me that, hey, Somnath, I understand that you probably had a tough week. Why don't you take your family out to the nearest Sofitel or Novotel or whatever brand? Stay there, and your maybe 20,000 loyalty points can get you 2 nights stay. And yeah, we haven't forgotten about your favorite foot massage. So, that's where we want to sort of, have that personalization, wherein it sort of embeds into that level of, search journey, and really make it personalization, personalized. The other thing that we've been doing, and, I just heard somebody mentioning on Teachers' Day that, I guess COVID has been the biggest teacher for all of us. Hands down, it has been. It has actually pushed us to the corner to be really innovative. And what we've done is, today, the future of meetings and events and events like these will be a hybrid, part physical, part, virtual. And what we did was, we actually took a spin on weddings. We came up with a product called Weddings at Novotel, wherein we made into a hybrid wedding. So you as a groom and bride can get married at one of the Novotels in the network, and your family or relatives or friends can still enjoy that. What the same thing that you're eating at the restaurant can be served through our network. You can actually see that either at one of our hotels in the cities or through virtually. So you can really, make sense of these, hybrid meetings or weddings that we have been looking at. And actually, we have had a lot of takers on this. So I think these two stand out in terms of digital transformation. Of course, there's a lot of things that to push contactless, because that's the need of the hour. So, all these have been the digital transformation activities.
Great. That really is astounding. So your customers would be saying, not I dream of Genie, but I dream of Accor, if Alexa is whispering softly into their ears about the next foot massage also. What an interesting panel it has been. I'm sure that everyone is really waiting to go back to their desks to jot down all the insights you have given, to prepare their next pitch to the CEO and also the elevator pitch, and to really strengthen the brand even more, utilizing these understandings that have come in about the return on investment. And what we understood most essentially is not only the savings or the revenue growth or other metrics, but the connection to the heart of the customer that we established. And I guess that is the biggest return on investment, because as long as we are invested in the customer and as long as they feel happy about it, surely the business would continue to grow. So that's where I would end and hand it over to our host, Nikita, and thank Exito for this wonderful opportunity for sharing our thoughts. Thanks, Bindya, Som, and Vaibhav. See you again sometime soon.
Our pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Hari. Thank you, everybody. Thanks,
everyone. Take care.
What a fantastic session, ladies and gentlemen. I think leaders, before you leave, wow, how interesting was that? And I think Mr. Somnath spoke about hybrid marriages. Mr. Somnath, how do you take care of that one always naraz Fufa ji though? How does that get incorporated in hybrid marriages? But what a fantastic, I mean, there was one shocker or one very interesting futuristic point which every leader brought. And leaders are, on behalf of yourselves as well as the audience, I think this has to be one of the best moderations we've ever heard. Mr. Hari, fantastic. You could definitely, steal in Karan Johar's role very, very soon. So looking forward to seeing you on the big screen. Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Ms. Bindya, Mr. Vaibhav, Mr. Hari, and Mr. Somnath. What a pleasure to have all of you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.